This is CBC Vancouver News.
The safety of British Columbians, whether they're struggling with addiction or whether they just want to enjoy a nice day at the park, is our priority.
Tonight on CBC Vancouver News, a major change in the fight against toxic drug deaths. The Premier says BC plans to recriminalize drug use in public spaces amid concerns about safety. The proposed changes and reaction. Plus, the orca calf trapped in a Vancouver Island lagoon for a month is now free. The local First Nation says brave little hunter swam out on her own. And Punjabi hip-hop artist Diljit Dosanjh is making waves in the music scene just as he arrives back in Vancouver for the weekend. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Zahra Premji. BC's Premier says it's time for a different approach to fighting BC's toxic drug crisis. He's asking Ottawa to allow the province to recriminalize drug use in public spaces. The shift comes amid serious concerns about public safety. And as Mira Baines reports, David Eby says he acknowledges some mistakes.
In short, this amendment will make public drug use illegal in British Columbia.
Premier David Eby has been under intense pressure to address the unintended consequences of decriminalization.
And a reality of a quickly escalating situation on the ground and a growing concern that I share with British Columbians that hospitals, restaurants, communities need to be safe.
He expects Health Canada to make the changes as soon as possible. They would make illicit drug use illegal in public spaces, including hospitals, restaurants, transit, parks, and beaches. Under the pilot, people will be able to legally use illicit drugs in private homes, overdose prevention sites, while they're legally sheltering, and at drug-checking locations. Drug use has evolved from primarily injection to more widespread inhalation. That significantly increased the risk of public exposure. The province had tried to use legislation to prevent drug use in some public areas, but it was blocked in court. Under the new amendment, police will have that authority to deal with drug use in public.
Our police officers do need to have legal authority to intervene in those rare situations where people are using illicit drugs under circumstances that are problematic.
It's a welcome move for the mayor of Nanaimo, whose community has been struggling with public disorder.
This is a positive step. It's the politically sensible thing to do, and I think for most people it is logical, it's overdue. The public support for this will be tremendous.
The criticism of the program, which is a little over a year old, has been ramping up as political parties prepare for a fall election.
The highlight of the absolute lack of appropriate planning by this government to implement a dangerous experiment on the public.
Her party would end the pilot. The BC Conservatives, who have been gaining momentum in recent polls, join that call.
But what I can never understand is why he thought in the first place that it was okay to walk down the street smoking a crack pipe, but it wasn't okay to walk down the street drinking a beer.
The Premier accepted criticism of how the program was brought in.
I absolutely accept the critique that we need to do more, that these authorities are needed and have been needed for a while.
In addition to the changes, the province says it will be setting up virtual clinics to help people in remote areas get access to medication-assisted treatment. Mira Baines, CBC News, Vancouver.
Now, reaction to the big change in the decriminalization pilot has been swift. Some hope it will address troubling behavior in public. But as Liam Britton reports, people who use drugs and their advocates argue it's misguided.
Ray Bonnet Rouge from Fort Providence First Nation is a former drug addict.
I use almost every chemical you could possibly use, right?
He's been clean for 17 years, but he says things have changed when it comes to drug use, and he's no fan of decriminalization.
There's permission to do it wherever you want, right?
That open drug use at parks like Andy Livingstone downtown will soon no longer be allowed is a good thing, he believes.
That will clean up a lot of places that don't deserve to have that.
Also at Andy Livingstone today was Jeremy Crow. He's a current opioid user. He agrees some people use drugs in inappropriate places, but he's no fan of being hassled by police.
They're doing this for survival for a reason. We can't live in a normal society. I know I can't.
Today's decriminalization walkback was welcome news to some city leaders, like Richmond councillor Alexa Liu.
It gives the community back our parks, our open spaces, and our beaches, and it sets a precedent for how people need to behave in public.
Garth Mullins with the Vancouver Area Network of Drug Users says the change smacks of political cowardice from the NDP.
Absolutely. I mean, the opposition have been beating up the government for months on this, and now they're folding like a cheap tent.
He says it could mean real danger for people who use drugs in the open.
I wanted someone to see it and call 911 if that happened to me. So I think we're going to be driving people back into the alleys, and that's backwards. You know, we're just going back to the bad old days.
UBC professor Mark Hayden, who's studied addiction and drug use, says open use is a problem, but the answer is not recriminalizing.
Playgrounds should not have people injecting drugs on them. That makes complete sense. But people are only injecting in inappropriate environments if they don't have access to appropriate environments. And that's the goal that we need to have.
As we head into an election, there's little sign this hot topic issue is going away. Liam Britton, CBC News, Vancouver.
White Rock RCMP and homicide investigators are sharing more details about Tuesday night's attack that killed a young South Asian man near the beach.
There was a knife involved, a stabbing that occurred on the bench, at which point there was somewhat of a tussle between the victim and the suspect, which led to both parties running west towards this train crossing here.
27-year-old Kulwinder Singh Sohi was found on the White Rock Promenade suffering from stab wounds and died soon after. An online fundraiser for his family has raised $50,000 at least. Sohi's death comes after another South Asian man was attacked on Sunday as he sat at the beach with his wife. Police describe the suspect in both cases as a black man just under 6 feet tall, wearing a dark-colored hat and a gray hoodie. They're asking anyone with dashcam or other video to contact them. Well, 12 mayors from BC want Ottawa to deny parole for serial killer Robert Pickton. In a letter sent to the Minister of Justice, Arif Virani, they say granting parole to the convicted murderer would re-traumatize victims' families. Pickton was convicted of 6 counts of second-degree murder in 2007 and sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for 25 years. He became eligible to apply for day parole in February. The minister says that eligibility does not mean Pickton will receive parole. The letter was also shared with the Federal Public Safety Minister Dominic LeBlanc, who oversees the Parole Board of Canada. Well, the orca calf named Brave Little Hunter is now free in open water. She'd been stuck in a remote Vancouver Island lagoon for more than a month. But as John Hernandez reports, she made her great escape this morning.
Joyful news following weeks of anxiety. Social media video shared by the Ihatasat First Nation shows members attempting to lure a stranded orca calf out of a remote Vancouver Island lagoon with seal meat.
She's gonna go for us. Chukwa!
A high tide at 2:30 a.m. helped the 2-year-old clear the sandbar that had trapped her.
I'm happy, I'm elated. That will for her to survive has been the inspiration.
The 2-year-old orca, nicknamed Qui Saheas, or Brave Little Hunter, entered the lagoon with her pregnant mother just over a month ago. Then suddenly the pair were trapped by a low tide.
Oh, poor girl. That's so sad.
Her mother beached and died.
The community gathered and tried to save her and wasn't successful, so we've tried to maintain the relationship or the connection to Qui Saheas since then.
Concern grew for the 2-year-old calf, stressed and grieving, who had been relying on her mother for food. Attempted rescue operations, from an elaborate plan to capture her in a sling to herding her out, failed. But observers said she still appeared in good spirits. Videos showed her breaching the waters just hours before she made it out on her own.
I'm really happy right now, but I know that we still need to figure out how to reconnect this animal with her family group.
This marine veterinarian was at the lagoon for multiple rescue attempts. He says the biggest challenge now will be finding the orca's pod.
Unfortunately, they haven't been seen in over 2 weeks, and no one knows exactly where they are, or at least of this morning, they didn't know where they were. And so it's very difficult to say how long it might take.
The Department of Fisheries and Oceans Canada says it's working with First Nations, whale watchers, and researchers as they attempt to lead her to open waters and hold out hope her family hears her calls.
That was John Hernandez. Sticker shock, pain at the pump, and prices that just keep climbing. Call it what you want. Motorists around Metro Vancouver are feeling the effects of higher gas prices that jumped 17 cents overnight. And as our Michelle Gassoub reports, a new toll coming into effect could see that bill jump even higher.
From $1.99 last night to nearly $2.17 this morning, the price of gas has more ups and downs than the Vancouver Canucks.
They expect people to get to and from work, but people can't even afford it.
But wait, right in the middle of the day, that price starts to drop. Good news for this driver who is in line to pay.
I was only going to put in a little bit because I'm headed out to Langley, and I'm like, well, hopefully the prices are lower there.
We talk about the price of gas all the time, but what's actually behind the ups and downs? First of all, there's the price of crude oil. That fluctuates based on everything from output by producers to the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. Then there's the refinery margin. That's the difference between what a refinery pays for the cost of crude oil and what it charges customers on the wholesale market. Then there are taxes, and in BC there are quite a few. And finally, there's the retail margin. That's the difference between what the retailer pays and what it charges you, the customer.
Prices just do what they do. I don't really feel like I have a lot of say in that.
And there's another cost creeping around the corner. With the new Trans Mountain pipeline expansion coming online on May 1st, a new tariff will come into effect for shippers using the new pipeline. That, too, will be passed on to consumers.
The toll is going up from the $21 a cubic meter for the old pipeline to $79 for the new pipeline. And when we translate that into what it means for gasoline prices, then it translates into 6 cents per liter.
Antweiler estimates British Columbians will pay over $200 million over the course of the year, all to pay back the cost of the pipeline. Another number to consider as you hit the road. Michelle Gassoub, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, the Vancouver Canucks took to the ice for Game 3 in their series with Nashville. They were looking to bounce back after coming up short in their previous match, and they delivered.
Hughes takes a look, fires one down to Miller, puts it in front, tipped in! Brock Besser from the crease, and the Canucks are 2 for 3 on the power play and lead Nashville 2-0.
That goal from regular season leading scorer Brock Besser ended up being the game-winning goal after JT Miller scored earlier in the first period. Nashville's Luke Evangelista made this interesting in the dying minutes of the third period, bringing them to 1 goal apart. But goaltender Casey DeSmith held down the fort and kept Vancouver on top, bringing them back into the series lead to 2-1 for the final score, with Vancouver up. Now, fans gathered earlier at a watch party at Brentwood Mall, but regardless of the outcome in the next games, these Canucks supporters say they'll support their boys in blue no matter what.
Feeling good.
I'm super pumped. This is amazing.
I'm going to be proud of them no matter what. I think based off of their growth over the last few years, it's such a special team, and this run is just so special no matter what happens. But yeah, I'm so proud of them, and I'm going to be happy for the city no matter what.
It's just fun having the playoffs in the city and witnessing all their hard work this past year.
It's being dubbed as a big step for Punjabi artists. After the break, we hear why people are excited for Diljit Dosanjh's return to Vancouver. Ontario Provincial Police say they're investigating an officer's actions after video posted online showed a police officer appearing to agree with protesters outside an event with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Our Kate McKenna has more.
He's already here. Do you know where he'll be coming out?
He came in this way and then just U'd in, so.
An Ontario Provincial Police officer sharing details about the Prime Minister's movements Thursday at an event in Alliston, Ontario, with a protester.
Probably come back out.
Can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
I'm on board with you guys.
Yeah.
But just no profanity.
CBC News reached out to the officer but didn't receive a reply. In the video, he's heard repeatedly agreeing with what the protester says.
I'm pretty sure, especially with the catch and release program and officers getting shot for guys that are already out on violent crimes.
That's
Not too many people are with Justin Trudeau at this.
The video spread online, prompting questions about whether police should be sharing political opinions and whether he compromised the Prime Minister's safety.
He's expressed his own personal opinions on a certain matter to obtain favor with the demonstrators, and that's inappropriate for a police officer to do that. You have to remain neutral. And he's also potentially compromised operational information. Now, I don't know if it was obvious where the PM went in or out, but he also disclosed the fact that where the PM actually drove in.
The OPP says it's reviewing what happened.
The video has raised concerns about professionalism and depicts opinions that are not in line with the OPP's values.
The Prime Minister says he won't comment on security measures.
I think it's important to emphasize and understand that the right to protest is really important. In a democracy, your freedom to disagree with the government is something we perhaps take for granted here in Canada.
The RCMP wouldn't comment on this specific incident, but says it's continuously reviewing the measures in place to protect the Prime Minister. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Ottawa.
Well, 2 years after performing to a sold-out crowd at Rogers Arena, Punjabi hip-hop artist Diljit Dosanjh is back. Many in the world of performing arts say this is a big step for Punjabi artists as a whole. Saurabh Sandhu went out to hear why people are excited.
Nearly 18,000 people went crazy last time Diljit Dosanjh performed at Rogers Arena in April 2022. A moment that made history as Dosanjh was the first Indian artist to perform at Rogers Arena. This Saturday, he's back in town for his Dilluminati tour, and excitement is through the roof.
Oh my God, you can't ask me. I am like a biggest fan. Diljit is coming, so I cannot miss this, and I'm like a huge fan, so I prefer going, spending more money, rather than staying home.
Everybody is so excited for the show, so I think it's gonna be very spectacular.
Amarjeet Grewal and her husband Kulwinder have come all the way from Calgary.
The moment he announced it, he knew I was excited, so he bought it for me for my Christmas gift.
Saturday will be the first time a Punjabi artist headlines an event at BC Place, a venue that can hold more than 50,000 people.
He's one of them who's going mainstream from a mainstream perspective, from an Asian side of the house. So, which is good. Which is good to see every artist performing at the same level as other artists in North America.
It sort of feels like, oh, okay, well, it's about time. That's how it feels.
Mandir says the emergence of South Asian artists into the mainstream music scene is an inspiration for young and emerging performers. Last month, another Punjabi artist from Surrey, Karan Aujla, won a Juno Award, becoming the first racialized artist to win in his category.
I think that there needs to be a little bit of like an awakening to the global impact that is South Asian music, which, by the way, has almost entirely all of its roots here in British Columbia, in Vancouver, in Surrey.
Mandir says recent collaborations between mainstream and Punjabi artists is a sign of growing popularity of Punjabi hip-hop music. More proof of that, only a handful of tickets for Saturday's concert are still available. Saurabh Sandhu, CBC News, Vancouver.
And here's a beautiful rainbow from above BC Place earlier today. Darius will have your full forecast and something special coming up next.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
With the changes to how Canada is able to access journalism online and on social media, we want to assure you that when you're looking for CBC News, you'll always be able to find us. Local news, breaking stories, and the latest from around the world is at your fingertips any time of the day with the free CBC News app and online at cbcnews.ca. For news you can trust, download the CBC News app and stay connected wherever you are.
The weather update is brought to you by Direct Buy Furnace. To cool and clean the air in your home, call Direct Buy Furnace. Installing Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
All right, so I'm curious with what's happening in the world of weather. So we've brought in Darius Madavi. Darius, I had to get the sunnies out today. I'm confused.
Yes, I know. You're not happy about all the blue sky that we had earlier today. Lucky for you, cloud is moving back in. It's going to be another cloudy day tomorrow. Before we get too much into this, I have two special shout-outs today. The first one I'm going to do at the beginning, second one at the end. First one is happy birthday, Mum. That's all. Secondly, take a look at the weather. You can see last night and into today, plenty of rain across Vancouver Island and the south coast. A lot more of that rain is going to be on the way. This is probably the heaviest rain we're going to get for a while. Saturday, overnight into Sunday, we may get some more decent rain as we see. You can see here this front coming in, dropping plenty of rain across the region. We're talking by early next week, probably around 30 millimeters for Metro Vancouver. A little bit more at those higher elevations, but generally speaking, nothing too notable, I'd say. Some breaks in the clouds are coming early next week and maybe through the weekend as well. So we do have a bit of a mixed bag in terms of the weather, but there will be mostly rain just for you, Zahra. Across the province, we also see some of that precipitation making it into other places. So in addition to some breaks in the clouds on the south coast, Vancouver Island, southwestern BC, we're going to also see some of that precipitation make its way up to the northeast where they could really use it. So sort of Sunday night into Monday, we'll get some good rain, some good snow in that area. In total, only about 15 to 20 millimeters of it. But at this point, especially with the fire situation, any little bit helps in that area. So a little bit of good news there as well. For now, those temperatures in the northeast, in the south, staying relatively constant, really. Southern interior bouncing a little bit here on the coast between 10 and 14 degrees the next few days. In the north, though, you'll notice those temperatures staying high through the weekend. And then on Monday, we see a pretty big drop down as we see that precipitation and that front roll in. In terms of conditions tomorrow, lots of thunderstorm activity in some parts of the province, but here on the coast, just more rain, really. And then, again, sunny conditions up in the northeast, but short-lived. If we zoom in to Vancouver for our 5-day forecast, you can see we do have plenty more rain on the way. A little break in the clouds on Monday likely, and sometimes during these other days as well. But generally, it's just a lot of rain. And Zahra, you know, I had to bring you the rain because it is your last day. It's your last newscast, and I have to tell you, we're all going to miss you very much.
Thank you, Darius, and thank you for the rain, and thank you for all of the time you spent here together with me. I have enjoyed it a lot, and thanks for all the weather.
You're welcome.
That's Darius Madavi. Thank you. And yes, Darius, let the cat out of the bag. This is my last day here at CBC Vancouver and last night on the desk with all of you. Thank you for welcoming me into your homes from the anchor desk, and thank you for sharing some of the most difficult as well as the most exciting journeys from your personal lives with us. You as an audience have taught me so much in this line of work, and I thank you for caring about the news and supporting it and us. You know, it's been an honor to spend my last 6 years with CBC. Thank you so much to all of you. And for one last time, I'll remind you, before you let that head hit the pillow, take one last scroll through what's making headlines on cbc.ca. Stay safe, be good to one another, and have a fantastic night. Bye.